Hello, my name is Sean Ennis with Ennis Management. Thank you for joining me once again on the Creative Collective. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, singer and songwriter from Oakland, California, by the way of Cleveland, Ohio, Jayna Blackwell, the Mistress of Soul.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, thank you for joining me. So let's start with were you born in Cleveland?
I was born in Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, and our family moved to Cleveland shortly thereafter. And then, of course, we moved to California.
And how old were you when you moved to California?
Oh gosh, I was 11 years old, 11 or 12, I believe.
And what was that like going from the Midwest, right, to the West Coast?
I think the biggest change was the weather. Of course, it doesn't snow here in California, which is a big thing, and it's warm most of the time in comparison to Ohio, and so that was a big change. And then California is more of a melting pot, so I've been able to see people of all different races and experience different cultures and everything, and so that's been great and exciting, and I think that all formulates into the music.
And because your name is the Mistress of Soul, I can sort of guess, but what genre of music do you consider your work to be?
I consider it to be more of a soulful R&B sound. And I think that encompasses even the house track that we have out now. It all kind of, falls under that umbrella.
And how long have you been practicing your craft?
Oh my, I've been practicing since I was a little girl. I started with the hairbrush and the mirror in the bathroom, and singing has been something that's been a part of my whole life. Even as a little girl, singing in the church choirs and whatnot, and listening to music in the home. My mom played all types of music at home, and so it definitely influenced, my ear and also my voice.
And who are some of your musical influences?
Well, growing up, my mom played a lot of Shaka Khan. Patrice Russian was big in the home, and then she played a lot of jazz music as well, and of course gospel. But Shaka and Patrice, and also Patti LaBelle, were big influences at the time.
Those are some really tremendous influences.
Yes.
What made you want to be an artist and start creating your own original music?
Now, the part about wanting to be an artist, I think that has been something that was always in me. I'm not sure where that came from. It was just something that I hid for a long time because, I was a little girl. My mom wanted me to focus my energy on school and whatnot, but I always wanted to sing. And, I started off singing in choirs and then, gravitated towards the band scene and didn't actually become a recording artist until just a few years ago.
And can you think of an earliest memory you have involving music?
Oh, yeah. I can remember, there's so many, but I think the very first time that I stepped outside of church and actually sang on the stage and in a theater, I will always remember that night because, I was scared out of my mind. And but once I got on that stage and the music started playing, it just all went away, and I'll never forget that.
What inspires you to make music?
I think it's just simply the love of music, and as an artist, I think other artists can relate to this. When you're performing music and you feel that connection with the audience. Once that click is there, it's like, no matter what language you're speaking, but that music speaks to anyone and everyone. Once you get there, it's like, wow, okay, this is that thing, and it makes it all worthwhile.
That's really interesting. I always love hearing what's going through the mind of a performer when they're on stage. Can you talk about what that experience is like?
I can. I love that feeling. It's like, I wish I could pinpoint it, but I think it would be like eating your favorite flavor of ice cream. But the experience is, there's all this anxiety before you get on stage, or actually before you even get to sound check. Once that ba-boom, ba-boom, that bass, when they're doing the sound check and you hear the drummer testing the levels and whatnot, and that bass drum is hitting, I just feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, But my performances, it's hard to plan those out, and I always say you never know what you're going to get from Jayna on stage, because it's like I transform into some other person on stage, and I love where it takes me.
And do you remember your first time performing?
I do. I remember lots of firsts. Like the first time I actually fronted a band, I'll never forget that night, and singing background for a Motown Revue show. I'll never forget that experience. And but that first time that I led my own band was that feeling like I have arrived. Because I knew that as a little girl, that is something that I always wanted to do. And once I got the opportunity to do it for the first time, I knew that this is the thing that I need to be doing. This is it.
And you said that you had a performance backing up some Motown artists?
No, not Motown artists. Here in the Bay Area, a producer started a Motown Revue show. And I think there's a lot of those Revue shows now around the country. But at the time, it was basically artists that were performing like music, Motown music. And it's something about that Motown music, man. It's like, it speaks to every race. It's something that is where you understand the magnitude of what Berry Gordy and his whole conglomerate did for the music business, for just the era, and so singing with that Motown Revue, we actually traveled around to various different casinos and whatnot, and performed Motown music, dressing up like we were in the 60s, and wearing costumes and whatnot, and performing that legendary music. And that was an experience. I did that for almost 5 years, and I'm telling you, each time was awesome. And we played to, many a sold out crowd, lots of festivals and whatnot, and it was an exciting time. It was my learning ground. It taught me how to, it taught me the whole performer's etiquette, if you will.
Now, did you watch Soul Train?
I did.
Terrific show.
Yeah.
And I think they have a scripted television show, if I'm not mistaken, about Soul Train.
Yeah, I've watched that as well.
Is it? What do you think?
And watching, Soul Train, as a little girl, Soul Train, and also American Bandstand, both of those shows were like, we look forward to that. Like, we had, my sister and I, we call these socks that we had our Soul Train socks. And, it was something that every Saturday Soul Train came on, and we were up dancing and doing our thing, and Soul Train served as a way for us to see artists that looked like us, and to be able to perform awesome music, but also to bring that music into our homes was big at the time. And, it was, and even the show that was on television, it just took me back to, that little girl that was looking up to all of those artists that were on that stage performing, and the dancers and whatnot. Hey, the Soul Train line, and and all of that.
Now, what makes you different as an artist?
I think what makes me different is, I think about this a lot, because the first band that I was in was, it started off as a rock and roll band. But when Jayna came in on the scene, I introduced them to R&B. We sang rock, we sang R&B, we sang blues, and so it gave me an opportunity to work with different genres of music, if you will, and learn new stuff. And I think what makes me different is I'm able to embrace a lot of that type of music, and all of those sounds have shaped the voice that you hear today in my music.
And how would you best describe your music?
I think it's really a soulful sound. It's soulful R&B with a little mix of house, if you will. And it's just Jayna.
And can you briefly describe your music making process?
Well, I've been fortunate to work with some awesome writers and producers and even sound engineers. And what's exciting about that is to watch this thing that we're creating become its own entity. And from the time we start off rehearsing it and then going into the studio, that studio vibe is something that is hard to describe unless you're in the moment or part of that creative process. But watching that process come alive in the studio is, wow, it's big. It's a feeling like none other. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to describe. It really is. But from picking the instrumental track and then formulating the words to it and then watching it come alive in the studio, it's big. It's awesome. It's better than chicken.
All right, now let's talk about your song Dance All Night.
Yes. Dance All Night is a track that was actually born out of this new, for me, this new genre of house music that I got introduced to by another remix of one of my other songs. And it was presented to me by a writing team, Rodney Moe and Bob Killer B. Hunter, and also Gregory Beasley. And they actually produced and wrote that song. And I was given complete autonomy and took it into the studio and added some Jayna on it, and it became this track that is we just actually released it on Thanksgiving Day of 2018, and it's gaining momentum as we speak, and it's doing very well over in the UK.
And now let's talk about That's My Song.
Yes, That's My Song featuring Ken Yan was actually written and produced by Ken Yan, or AKA Kenneth Christian. And it's funny because I remember the day that that song came alive, and he basically played the musical track of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that. We were on a lunch break or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I really like that beat, And he goes, I got the name of the song, and I'm like, he said, that's my song, and we went back and forth like this who's on first kind of moment. I'm like, yeah, that's my song too. He's like, no, that's my song. Yeah, I like that. That's my song too. But he was like, no, Jayna, that's the name of the song. That's my song. And the way he presented it was like, how you hear a song and you're trying to describe a song to the DJ to play at a party, and it's like when that song comes on, you're like, oh yes, that's my jam, that's my song. And so that's where that whole idea of that song came about. Just a good party song, for the seasoned crowd, I guess, if you will.
What are the main themes or topics of your music?
It's a lot of love in there, and of course, because I love love, and there's quite a few metaphors. Like there's a song that we have out called "In My Pool," and it's basically talking about the love of R&B, and it's basically, it puts you in the frame of mind. Well, we hope that it puts you in the frame of mind of that good old school type of R&B with little mix of, I guess, a new sound, like a new soul sound. So it's like a combination of the two.
And how has your music evolved?
I think the biggest thing that has evolved is my voice. As I started off singing, I started in this as a soprano, and as I've gotten older and developed my voice, I've been able to, build that lower register and bring out some more soulful, deep tones in my voice, and I'm excited about those changes and being able to go other places when I sing, and that, I think that is the biggest evolution in my music.
What song has gotten the most positive response from your fans?
Definitely That's My Song. That was the first track that we put out worldwide, and I think that because it's that it's an upbeat party kind of song, it has gotten a huge response, and it has opened the door for us to be able to introduce new songs. And we're excited to be working on my first album entitled Uncompromised, which, some of the, like That's My Song and other songs will appear on the album as well.
And what is your dream collaboration? If you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be and why?
OMG. Of course, it would have to be Faith Evans. And anybody that knows me knows that I am a big Faith Evans fan. Even when I first started off doing cover songs and bands and whatnot, I always try to include at least one Faith Evans song on my set list. It is her, her vocals are of course impeccable, and that would be just like I'm in heaven, to be able to work with her.
I'm sure that song would be terrific. So, what has been one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your music career, and how have you been able to overcome that challenge?
I think, as a woman, a lot of times as artists, you're expected to look and maybe even sound a certain way. And I think the biggest challenge in that part was to, because if you know me, I'm not a size 2, and so I think that, for me, it's been overcoming my own personal image issues to be able to come out and present my music the way that it should be, just as it is, you know what I mean? I think that's been the biggest challenge for me.
And I think that that's something that you as an artist do really well, and I certainly respect that about you, your authenticity in who you are as an artist. And I think that's something that a lot of fans will resonate with as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, because, there was a lot of talk about this when I first started, recording music, like how I was going to present myself, and, if I felt like I needed to go and do certain things to change my look or whatnot. And then I just decided, it is what it is. This is the way God made me, and I'm just going to do this thing because I believe that God is all in this, you know. And there's been many times when I've tried to walk away from it, and, you know, my path keeps steering me in this direction for a reason, I believe. And I'm happy to say that, you know, all of these things that are falling in line for us in the music game has been because, you know, we're just truly blessed. We're just focused. We're doing what we want to do based on our dreams, and we're following those dreams, and it's exciting times for us.
What is your ultimate direction for your music career or your future goals?
Well, I definitely want to get my album out, which is something that I've never done. It will be my first album. But, you know, I think the one thing that I can say, and maybe for a lot of artists, maybe this might resonate, is that I never set out to do any one thing. All I wanted to do was just make music. And the music has led us here. And I think that I've just opened myself up to the possibilities. And the possibilities are directing this boat here, if you will. And so I always tell my team, hey, we're just going to ride this wave until we can't ride it anymore. And wherever it leads us is what our destination will be. And so, you know, some of the dreams we've had is to get music played on the radio. That's happened. Some of the dreams we've had is to put out an EP. That's happened. You know, or you know, earn and gain new fans. You know, that's happened. And so we're just following this thing and making dreams come true. You know.
What advice do you have for musicians just starting out in their career?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is to learn the business for yourself. And I'm still a student, you know, even after all of these years in doing music, I'm still a student. I'm ever learning, you know, and don't rely on any one person to tell you or teach you anything. You learn it for yourself. And in that way, you know, no surprises can come up. You know, how come I didn't get a royalty check? Well, you know, did you follow steps A through B first? You know what I mean? And so I think that that's the biggest thing as a young artist is it's exciting to create this project, but make sure you do the work, the paperwork, and you get it all ready before you push it out there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can cost you.
It never fails to amaze me in this day and age, 2019, with Google and YouTube, that there's still musicians out there that don't understand the importance of understanding the business side of the music industry.
Yeah, I think because I kind of understand it because I'm an artist. And I think as artists, we get caught up in our project. We get caught up in creating art. And oftentimes, you know, we think that that's all there is to it, you know, not realizing that there's a whole other side to this game called music that can, you know, it can help pay your bills. You can eat off this if you do it right, you know what I mean? And so I think, you know, even myself, I remember I got caught up in that too, like when I wanted to release my track and the label that supported me was like, you have to have patience. There's something to having this patience that can, you know, can help you in the long run, and making sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's before you're putting out your craft.
Yep, it really is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share your social media links?
Sure, at Jayna Sings 2, that's JAYNASINGS, the number 2. That's on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Is there anyone you'd like to acknowledge for offering financial or emotional support in your music career?
Most definitely. You know, I have a small team, but I do, you know, look to them for support. My manager, Orlando Johnson. We talk every day, you know. And also Gregory Beasley of Motown Records and Centurion Music Group have been very instrumental in where we are with our music today. You know, there's also a couple studios I'd like to give a shout out to, if I may. Legacy Studios in Emeryville, California, and also Treetop Studios in Hayward, California. Have been more than accommodating for me.
And what is the best way for fans, other artists, or even producers to get in contact with you?
The best way is through, of course, social media, or also on our website at ctownrecords.com.
All right, and is there anything else you'd like to promote or share?
Well, yeah, we have a couple things coming up, all of which you can find on our website at ctownrecords.com. But there is a award ceremony that I got a little nomination for Best Neo Soul Performer of the Year as the Northern California Entertainers Music Awards in May 25th in Sacramento, California. And there's also a few upcoming shows, but the dates you can find on the website.
Well, congratulations. That is certainly a big honor.
Thank you so much.
And I would like to give a very big thank you to my guest today. As always, write your comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. And for all of your promotion, marketing, as well as music career consulting needs, email ennisproductions@gmail.com.